All right, everybody say with me 3 times. Pick a peck of pickled pickles, pick a pickle pickles, pick a pickle. This week on my left frying pan, I'm making pickles. As promised, I am back with Bernardin and I'm making pickles because I told you when I was doing the jam that I was going to partner with Bernardin again and show you how to make pickles. And I never, ever fib. Okay, so, hey, sidebar, I just want to thank everybody for saying, sending me your comments about your raspberry jam, because one of the neatest things that I get a kick out of is that when people go, hey, because of you and the show, I'm now making something. And we got so many comments from you saying, hey, I made freezer jam and it's fantastic. So, woo! It's working! I'm so glad. And so what I'm hoping happens today is that Bernardin and I are going to encourage you to make pickles. Now, they have a fantastic website. I mean, after all, they are the canning experts. So I went on their website and I made this recipe last week. Okay, I went to my farmer's market. I got the pickling cucumbers and the dill and the whole shebang, and I made the recipe called Grandma's Icicle Pickles. It's a really old-fashioned recipe. You put the cucumber pickles in ice cubes in a brine, and you let them brine overnight, and then there's a whole bunch of steps, and they turned out fantastic. Now, you're not supposed to open a jar for 3 weeks because you want to get all the flavors developing. Well, I opened one already and they're like 2 thumbs up. But I'm going to make a different pickle recipe today, and I want to explain why. Because my mom is 91, and her and my dad used to make pickles pretty much every year. And it was a really neat memory. And for a lot of you who know, if you don't know, my dad died this year. On April Fool's Day. He was a really funny guy, and I think he planned it. Anyway, and so in honor of my mom and dad, I'm going to make my mom's pickle recipe, and then the next time I'm in Vancouver, I'm going to take her a couple of jars, and I'm sure it's going to make her happy because I was raised in a pickling family, and so we're going to do some pickles right now. Before you start canning or pickling, you have to have everything ready. You don't want to be running around your kitchen going, oh, I forgot to do that. That's crazy, okay? So it has to get all ready, because remember, you have to follow the rules. Yes. Okay, so first of all, you're going to scrub your pickling cucumber. This is a pickling cucumber. It is not a cucumber. Okay, it is a cucumber, but it's a specific kind of a cucumber. It's for pickling. You don't pickle regular cucumbers. They will fall apart. They will be, okay? So you've got to buy the real guys, all right? Now, I got these at my farmer's market, and this year in Ontario, because we had so much rain, they're kind of short and fat. I don't know. Anyway, so we got to scrub those because you don't want to have any dirt in your pickles. Okay, the next thing you need to have is a canner, okay? Hello, it's called canning. All right, so you need to buy one at either a hardware store or some kind of kitchen stores, but you have to have one, and it has to have a rack in it too. All right, so you're going to have that. You fill it up 3/4 with water, and then you bring it to the boil. We're going to reduce it down later. All right, the next thing you have to have are your canning jars, okay? Now, these are Bernardins. They're really pretty. I like the 500 ml jars for pickles because I like smaller jars of pickles, but a lot of people like to do the 1 liter ones, the big ones. Totally your call. Do whatever you want, but I prefer the little guys. All right, and then if you're not buying new jars and you're going to use old jars, make sure that there's no cracks or anything on the top. If there's a crack, it's not good because you're going to sterilize these. This is the whole thing about canning. It has to be sterilized. So once these have been washed in hot soapy water, we're going to put them into the water in the canner at 180 degrees Fahrenheit to sterilize them. All right? Excellent. The next thing is you have to sterilize is the snap lid. All right, now the screw tops, they don't need to be sterilized. They used to. We used to always do that, but we don't do that anymore. And we're going to sterilize these by putting them into water that's once again at 180 Fahrenheit. Okay, you need a thermometer. Hello, people. You need one of these babies. So much of my cooking is related to a thermometer because I'm all about food safety, right? And the big important part is that you don't want to boil these lids, okay? No, don't boil. That's 212, okay? You have to remember to follow the rules. Yes, my cousin, my food scientist cousin, Lucina, she knows her stuff, all right? So no boiling, no 212 Fahrenheit, 180 is simmer. All right, so now we've got all that organized. Here comes the next step. All right, while the jars are being sterilized and the snap lids are doing their thing, let's make the pickling sauce. Okay, the first thing is you have to have a stainless steel pot. You really have to have a stainless steel pot, okay? So that's the first thing. Now, the next thing you're gonna do is, the recipe is below, so, but there's 4 cups of water goes into the stainless steel pot. And then there's 2 3/4 of a cup of pickling vinegar. Now, pickling vinegar is not the same thing as the vinegar that you put on your fries, okay? Pickling vinegar is 7% acidity. And you can see right on the label that it says pickling vinegar, okay? That's the one that you want to buy. So 2 3/4 cups go into the saucepan. And now we're going to add salt, okay? Now it's not your table salt, okay? That's been iodized. We don't want to have the iodine in there. We want to have a coarse salt. And the salt that you buy will say coarse, and then it'll say ideal for pickling or perfect for pickling. That's the kind of salt you want to use. And we're putting in 1/3 cup. All right, and now that's going to come to the boil. And you're going to stir it or let it, you're not going to actually start timing it until it's actually all the salt has been dissolved. So while that's doing its thing, let's talk about the rest of the ingredients. So for pickles, you need to have dill. And now this is fresh dill. I got this at the farmer's market. And you can put as many of these little fronds in as you want. Now, the more dill you add, the more dilly it tastes like. So I bought like a lot. Like I bought like way too much, but I really like dill, like the flavor of dill. That's gonna be rinsed off, and so it's all perfectly clean. And then you're gonna be adding garlic. Now, I go to the East York Farmers Market here in Toronto, and my garlic lady Ruth, her connection is with a Mennonite farmer, and he grows the biggest garlic cloves ever. And so the recipe calls for 16 cloves of garlic. You put 2 cloves of garlic into each jar. Well, this is like 4 cloves of garlic, so I'm going to be able to cut those down. But the reason I like big garlic is that you only have to peel less. You peel less. Now, that was all that was in my mom's recipe, but I'm going to add in a couple of the jars some pickling spice. So you could just buy this at a grocery store. It's got things like mustard seed and peppercorns and cloves and stuff in it, bay leaves. And then this is just regular Canadian mustard seed. Remember, we did a whole episode on mustard. I'm saluting your mustard farmers. Anyway, and so you can put mustard seed, so one or the other, you wouldn't put both in. So I'm going to play around and put, you know, 1/2 to 1 teaspoon in the jars. All right, so we've scrubbed the pickles, we got the whole pickling liquid going to be going. I've got everything ready. We're going to actually start to put the cucumbers in the jars. Okay, so Bernardin has these really cool little toys. There's this guy, and then this is my jar grabber, but this has got a magnet. Look at that. Oh, anybody remember Romper Room? I Spy Shirley. Hi, Shirley. Oh, and I Spy Monica. Hi, Monica. I Spy Amy. Hi, Amy. Oh, and there's Linda. Hi, Linda. And oh, Justin Trudeau, I spy you. Okay, anyway, it's a magnet, and this is what you use to get the little snap lids out. Look at that. Oh my God, that's so cool. Okay, so, all right, we're gonna start canning now, all right? I've got my jars. I'm gonna go get my jars out. Now you have to put it onto like a tea towel or some kind of pad, because when you put those really, really hot jars onto a counter, you don't wanna have thermal shock, okay? So I've got a little pad here. This is what I actually put my dishes on to dry sometimes. Okay, so everything's ready, all right? Here we go. Na-na-na-na, na-na-na-na-na, na-na-na-na-na, na-na-na-na-na. All right, fishing out a jar. Dump out the water, okay, and on it goes. All right, so what I usually do first is put in the garlic. So 2 cloves of garlic into the bottom of the jar. Now, these guys are pretty fat, so I'm gonna put the fatter guys around the top. Now, if they're too high, then it won't seal. So if it's a little bit too high, you wanna cut a little bit off the bottom so that it'll sit flat, okay? There it goes, wonderful. And this is kind of playing like, what's that game? Jenga? Jenga. So it's kind of like, you know, making sure that they all fit in pretty good. Where's another one? Here's another one. That looks like a pretty good one. We'll shove him in there. Now you can pack them pretty tight because there is the dreaded shrinkage in pickling. So these guys are going to shrink up. And these guys are so fat, I can only get 3 in because I want to add my dill. So we'll shove the dill in down there on that side. Okay. And I love dill. That's why I bought all this stuff. So I'm going to put some more in. Down the other side, maybe a bit more. And then, because this one's for my mom, I'm not going to put the mustard seed or the pickling spice in there. Now, I'm going to pour on the boiling hot pickling liquid. And make sure that there's no bubbles or anything around the edges. Okay, no bubbling, no bubbling. And then, whoops, I disappeared. Okay, I'll be right back. Talk amongst yourselves. I have to go get the paper towels. Da-da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da-da. Remember the part I said about you don't want to be running around your kitchen? Well, I was. Okay, you need a clean paper towel because you don't want to have any pickling liquid around the top of the jar. So you want to use, I use paper towels. You can use a clean dishcloth if you want. I think the paper towels are probably a bit more sterile. And then I'm just going to push that little guy in there a bit better. And then using my lucky, fabulous magnet, take off one of the snap lids. Put it on gently. Okay, you don't want to touch the underneath side. And then you don't screw these on too hard. You just do it until it's about finger tight. Okay, that's all. Don't be, okay? And then we're going to put it right back into the bath. Now you have to work really quickly in this. So if you can't get all 8 done really fast, this one's going to get pickled longer. So you know what? Depending on, this is kind of like sometimes a teamwork project. I'm just going to stick it back in there. Oh, I'm getting a facial with the vinegar. Holy smokes. Okay, whoa, losing my breath here. So I'm going to do all 8. And it's so much fun. Okay, 1, 2. Oh, this guy's a really big fat guy. Don't want to be a fat guy. Cut the little end off him. Stick him in there. Oh boy. Jam him in there. Woo! Those pickling cucumbers were the biggest I have ever seen in my entire life. And so I had to use more pickling liquid. And so that happens a lot. These are just estimations when you pickle. So remember it, don't freak out. Make sure you buy a big bottle of the pickling vinegar and a big bag of the pickling salt, just in case you have to make more pickling liquid. All right, so all the cans, all the jars are in my canner. There's 8 of them. And when I put them in, make sure that when they're submerged, there's at least 1 inch of water over the top of each can. That's going to actually help create the pressure. When it comes to the boil, I'm going to put the lid on and then I'm going to time it for 10 minutes and then they're ready. Wow, I've had a vinegar facial and it's so humid in the house. I'm looking like, I guess I'm going to audition for Annie next. All right, so when the 10 minutes is up, you turn the heat off and you let them sit in there for 5 more minutes and then take them out of the canner. I use they're Bernardin little, you know, grabbers. I love these things. And then you have to put them once again onto a pad because you want to avoid thermal shock. Again, they could actually crack on you. So put them onto a pad or a tea towel or something like that. And then don't touch them for 24 hours. Leave them alone. Like do not touch them, all right? Now, this is one of the jars I did a week ago, but I just saved it so I could show you. Basically, the next morning, 24 hours later rather, you're gonna make sure that the lid does not bounce back, okay? It should be taut and really tight. That means that it's sealed and you've actually produced a canned good. And then you're gonna take off the rings and make sure that they're totally dry. If there's any water in there, this could rust. You make sure that the jar, the whole shebang is all dried up. And then you just put the screw on back on, but just finger tight. Don't be jamming it on too tight. And don't forget to label. All home canning is good for at least a year, and for best before, that would be the right amount of time a year. So I just want to thank Bernardin again for partnering with me, and we hope together, Bernardin and myself, that we've encouraged you to get into your kitchen and can. It's a wonderful thing to do with your family. It's a great way to save money in the long run. It's just a wonderful kind of a old style way of cooking that whoa, did you hear that? That was a little ping. That means that I'm getting a sealing on these ones too. All right, so check out Bernardin's website, bernardin.ca. Tons of recipes, and remember, if you like the video, give me a thumbs up. Tell your friends to watch My Left Frying Pan. It's not your regular cooking show. And please, feel free to leave a comment. I try to answer all of them. I really, really do. So until next time, I'm wishing you peace, love, and fiber.